Welcome to the world of science fiction, where the boundaries of reality stretch as far as the stars. In this universe, mysteries unfold with every twist, and the unknown is just waiting to be explored. Are you ready to venture into a world of alien encounters, ancient laws, and unbreakable bonds? Today, we bring you an incredible tale of survival, destiny, and the uncharted paths that bind two unlikely souls. Imagine being stranded on a hostile desert planet, surrounded by scorching heat, endless dunes, and the constant threat of death. Meet Kyle Ren, a seasoned pilot, whose mission to find his lost crew becomes entwined with a mysterious alien warrior named Teresa, who bears the weight of her people's survival on her shoulders. This is no ordinary journey. As their paths intertwine, they are forced into a bond that transcends both time and space, a bond forged by the ancient law of the spear. In this world of warriors and tribes, where betrayal and loyalty clash in the harsh desert winds, they must face forces greater than they ever anticipated. The Zeron tribe is on the brink of collapse, led by the treacherous Raken, once a trusted ally to Teresa's father. As the tribe's future hangs in the balance, Teresa must confront Raken's ruthless reign and reclaim her rightful place as the leader. But the desert is unforgiving, and alliances will be tested in ways they never imagined. As Kyle and Teresa fight for survival, secrets of the past unfold, revealing the depths of the bond that now binds them. Can they overcome the forces that seek to tear them apart? Or will the harsh desert be their final resting place? Prepare yourself for a thrilling adventure where every step brings them closer to destiny, and where the desert's secrets are not just whispered by the wind, they are spoken in the ancient language of the spear. Will Kyle find his crew? Will Teresa reclaim her tribe's honor? Stay tuned, and let's uncover the truth together. What do you think will happen next in this gripping saga? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss the twists and turns of this mysterious world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of this epic journey. Let the adventure begin. The vast desert of Car Ren stretches endlessly before Kyle Ren, a world barren and lifeless under the unforgiving heat of twin suns that glare down with relentless intensity. The ground beneath his boots feels like an oven, burning his every step as he trudges through the red sands. The dunes are unbroken, sweeping like crimson waves across the barren landscape, and the wind whispers an eerie, almost mournful song as it lifts the sand in swirling gusts. There is no sign of life, no shelter, only the harshness of the desert that surrounds him. Kyle, dressed in a worn and tattered flight suit, his face etched with exhaustion, scans the horizon. His once confident demeanor is now marred by dehydration, the air dry enough to crack his lips, making his voice raspy as he speaks into his cracked communicator. Kyle, voice cracking, anyone copy? Kyle to Sam, Lena, anyone? Only the whisper of the sand and the crackling static of his broken communicator answer him. His heart sinks as he checks the device again, the silent expanse of the desert mocking his desperation. 6 days have passed since the crash. 6 days of aimless wandering across this desolate world, with no sign of his crew. His thoughts wander, but he quickly pushes them away, refusing to let despair take hold. He takes a brief sip from his half-empty canteen, but the liquid does little to ease the searing dryness in his throat. He's rationed what little he has left, but the unrelenting desert is far from forgiving. Kyle, under his breath, I'm coming for you. With that, he continues on, dragging his weary body across the scorching terrain. As the suns begin to dip lower into the horizon, the temperature shifts, the heat of the day giving way to the cool chill of night. The transition is sudden, almost shocking, as the desert landscape transforms from harsh and blazing to eerily calm. The sky turns a deep violet, hues of crimson mixing with streaks of gold, as if the desert itself is aflame with the dying light of the suns. Kyle reaches the crest of a steep dune, pausing to catch his breath. He glances out across the horizon, squinting through the fading light. It's the first time in days that the landscape has felt different. Not necessarily comforting, but something is stirring in the air. And then, a flicker of movement catches his eye. At first, it's a mere disturbance in the sand, an odd shape shifting against the backdrop of jagged rock formations. Kyle's heart races, his senses sharpening, his fingers tighten around his canteen, then instinctively slide to the side where his weapon would normally rest. But it's gone, lost in the crash. Kyle, whispering, "What the hell?" His voice is barely audible above the wind as his eyes lock onto the figure moving toward him. The shadow of something tall and fluid appears, growing clearer as it closes the distance. Kyle's hand hovers at his side, the thought of running flashing through his mind, but something compels him to stay, to watch. The figure, emerging from behind the rocks, is like nothing he's ever seen. It is tall, nearly a full head taller than him, and its skin is a deep cobalt blue, shimmering against the setting sun. Its eyes are golden, gleaming like twin orbs of fire, focused and predatory as they lock onto his position. Kyle freezes, his breath hitching in his throat. It's not human. No, it's something else. The creature moves like a predator, fluid and unhurried, each step deliberate and calculated. Its every movement speaks of strength and purpose. A creature of survival in a world that offers no mercy. Despite the overwhelming fear in his chest, Kyle rises slowly, lifting his hands in what he hopes is a universally understood gesture of peace. His voice trembling but firm. "Kyle," raising his hands, "I'm not looking for trouble." The creature stops, its golden eyes narrowing, scanning him with unnerving precision. A long silence stretches between them, broken only by the soft whispers of sand and the wind. Then, in one swift motion, the creature reaches behind its back and draws a long, bone-white spear. It's sleek and deadly, its sharp tip gleaming ominously in the fading light. The air grows heavy with tension, thick with the weight of impending violence. Kyle's heart pounds in his chest, his mind racing, his body tenses, ready for whatever may come next. The alien warrior stands motionless for a moment, her gaze never leaving his. The harsh wind gusts again, carrying the scent of the desert on its breath. But the warrior remains undeterred. Kyle's fingers twitch at his side, where his weapon used to be. But there's nothing. All he has left is his wits. His mind works quickly, analyzing the situation. The alien is faster, stronger, and better adapted to this environment than he could ever be. She's clearly a warrior, and her spear would give her reach. But he's not without resources. His mind flashes back to his military training, combat techniques honed over years of survival. The warrior steps forward, closing the distance between them, her steps deliberate and silent. Her expression remains unreadable, but Kyle senses the power in her stance, in the way her muscles coil beneath her skin. She's not just a creature, she's a force of nature, born from the harsh desert world. Then, as if in answer to some unspoken question, the alien warrior speaks. Her words are harsh, clipped, in alien language Kyle cannot understand. The sound is guttural, commanding, and raw, like the very desert itself. She repeats the phrase, louder this time, her voice filled with intent. She raises the spear in his direction, the sharp point aimed directly at his chest. Kyle swallows hard, his throat dry, as the reality of his situation sets in. There is no escaping this, no running. His eyes dart around, but the barren desert offers no sanctuary. The landscape stretches endlessly, The rocks too distant, the dunes too high. Kyle, shakily, I don't understand. The warrior tilts her head slightly, as if confused by his words. She steps closer, her spear leveled at his chest. Unyielding, the silence stretches for a moment longer before she gestures toward the horizon with her free hand. Then mimics a slashing motion across her throat. The message is clear enough. Kyle. Urgently, I can't. My friends, my crew. They're out there somewhere, they're alive. I know it. The warrior's expression hardens, her golden eyes flashing. With a sudden, sharp cry, she lunges forward, her spear soaring toward him with terrifying precision. Time seems to slow as the weapon flies toward his chest, its sharp tip gleaming in the fading sunlight. Kyle's body reacts instinctively. He reaches out, his hands gripping the spear's shaft just inches from his chest. The force of the impact nearly knocks him backward, but he holds on, pain lancing through his palms as the sharp wood of the spear splinters into his skin. A stunned silence falls between them. The warrior stands still, her gaze wide with what Kyle can only interpret as shock. Her mouth opens slightly, then closes again. She takes a step back, then another, uncertainty flickering across her expression for the first time. Kyle, breathless from the encounter, lowers the spear slowly, his grip tight but steady. He keeps his eyes on the warrior, unsure of what to do next. The air between them is thick with tension. Kyle. Softly, look. I don't want to fight. The alien warrior regards him silently, then slowly drops to one knee before him. Her gaze is intense, studying his face with a new curiosity. She speaks again, but this time her tone is different. Reverent, almost. Kyle blinks in confusion, unsure of her meaning. Kyle. Pulling back, I don't understand. The warrior rises to her feet, her eyes not leaving him. She places a hand on her chest, and speaks clearly, in a voice that now seems more understandable, though broken by the language barrier. Teresa. Solemnly, Teresa. Kyle blinks, his mind racing. It's a name, his first clue in this strange, alien world. Kyle. Staring at her, Kyle. Teresa, her name now etched in his mind, examines him closely, as though measuring him in some way. She slowly takes the spear from his hands, inspecting it, then looks back at him, her expression unreadable but more thoughtful than before. She holds the spear toward him, offering it back, but Kyle hesitates. Kyle. What does this mean? The words she speaks next are strange, but their weight carries with them the gravity of ancient law, of rituals passed down through generations. And as she speaks, Kyle realizes something profound is happening, something beyond his understanding. He's been bound to her, by tradition, by law, and by the desert itself. The temperature plummets with eerie speed as the sun dips completely behind the horizon, leaving the desert beneath a blanket of chilling silence. The night air grows colder by the second, sending a shiver through Kyle's body, his thin flight suit insufficient against the bitter desert night. The wind, once harsh and scorching, now carries a biting chill, and the vast expanse of Car Ren seems to hold its breath, as if waiting for something to unfold. Teresa, still lithe and unfazed by the drastic shift in temperature, moves swiftly toward a nearby outcropping of jagged rocks. She gestures for Kyle to follow her, and though he's exhausted, the sense of urgency in her movements spurs him to do just that. As they approach, the rocks open up into a narrow crevice, revealing the entrance to a small, sheltered cave. The dim glow of a small fire flickers from within, its warm light cutting through the oppressive darkness like a beacon of comfort in the cold void of the desert night. Inside, the air is warmer, and the smell of burning wood mingles with the dry desert scent. Teresa kneels by the fire, adding more fuel, and the crackle of flames fills the otherwise still air. Kyle, his legs aching from the long trek, takes a seat on the ground, trying to shake off the weariness that has settled deep into his bones. Teresa pulls a small, intricate device from a pouch at her side. It's foreign, sleek, its surface etched with strange symbols that Kyle can't recognize. With practiced hands, she adjusts the device, and for the first time, the silence between them is broken by her voice. Though the words are slow and foreign. Teresa, sternly, "You caught my spear. No one catches the spear." Kyle looks up at her, his brow furrowed in confusion. He feels the weight of her words, their significance hanging in the air like the tension of a storm waiting to break. Kyle, frowning, "What does that mean?" Teresa's golden eyes glint in the firelight as she regards him carefully. She stands slowly, her posture poised and commanding, yet there's a touch of weariness in her movements, as though the weight of her tribe's troubles rests heavily on her shoulders. Teresa, quietly, with gravity, "By ancient law of Zan, you are now my eternal companion." The words, though spoken plainly, hit Kyle like a physical blow. His mind races to catch up, to make sense of what she is saying. His head tilts slightly as he rubs his temple, trying to understand the depth of what's been thrust upon him. This wasn't just a chance encounter. It wasn't simply a fight for survival. This was something else entirely, a bond that he cannot escape, no matter how much he might want to. Kyle, confused, his voice shaking slightly, "I didn't mean to. This isn't what I want." For the briefest moment, Kyle sees something flicker in Teresa's expression. It's fleeting, so quick that he wonders if he imagined it, but it looks like understanding. And perhaps something else, frustration. Her gaze hardens, and she speaks again, this time with a sharper edge to her voice. "Teresa," sharply, "you think I desire this? My tribe faces war with desert nomads. You are a burden I cannot afford. But the law is the law." The words hit Kyle like a sharp slap. His chest tightens, the realization that this law, this bond, is not something either of them can control. It is fate, ancient and unyielding, like the desert that stretches around them. The heat of the fire contrasts sharply with the coldness of the desert's law. And in that moment, Kyle feels the weight of both on his shoulders. Despite the heaviness of the moment, an idea begins to form in Kyle's mind. This law, this bond, it's something that cannot be undone. But perhaps, there's a way to make it work. He looks at Teresa, his eyes narrowed with purpose. "Kyle, exhausted but determined, what if I help you with the nomads in exchange for your help in finding my crew?" Teresa regards him for a long moment, her golden eyes studying him with an intensity that Kyle feels deep in his bones. She remains silent, as if weighing his words, considering his proposal carefully. Finally, she tilts her head slightly, her posture shifting just enough to suggest a shift in her thoughts. Teresa, quietly, after a long pause, "What skills do you possess?" "Skyfallen one?" Kyle's heart skips a beat at the name she uses for him. Skyfallen one. It's not a title he's ever heard before. But it sounds ancient, laden with significance. It feels like an acknowledgement of his place in this strange, unfamiliar world. He swallows hard, gathering his thoughts before answering. "Kyle, with certainty, I'm a pilot. I was military before that, combat trained." The flicker of something, maybe respect, maybe curiosity, crosses Teresa's face. Her gaze hardens slightly as she considers him, her eyes searching for any signs of weakness or hesitation. She doesn't speak immediately, but the silence between them is thick, charged with an unspoken understanding. Teresa, nodding slightly, "We leave at first light. My tribe's oasis is 2 days north. Your crew may be there." Kyle's heart leaps at the mention of his crew, his people, the thought of finding them. of not being alone on this hostile planet, fills him with a surge of hope. He stands, his legs still unsteady, but his resolve hardening. Kyle, with a hint of gratitude, "Thank you. I'll do whatever it takes." Teresa's expression softens, though only slightly. She doesn't show emotion easily. But there's a flicker of something, a recognition, perhaps, of the bond that now ties them together. She gestures toward the fire. And for the first time since their strange encounter, her tone lightens, albeit just a little. "Teresa, rest now. Tomorrow, we move." The air crackles with tension as the alien warrior, a towering figure of cobalt blue skin, stands before Kyle, her golden eyes locked onto his with a cold, calculating gaze. Her fingers curled tightly around the spear's shaft, and her lips move as she speaks in a language that is as alien to Kyle as the world around him. Her voice is harsh, filled with an intensity that reverberates in the still desert air. It echoes like the sound of a distant storm, both commanding and wild. Kyle's heart races in his chest as he struggles to comprehend the words. His translator device, flickering weakly, picks up fragments but fails to piece them together into anything intelligible. The alien dialect is too complex, too foreign. Kyle, confused, "I don't understand. My ship crashed. I'm looking for my crew." The alien doesn't respond, her gaze never wavering. She seems unbothered by his words, perhaps not understanding at all. In one fluid motion, she steps closer, and the gleaming tip of her spear is now aimed squarely at his chest. The sharp, bone-white shaft of the weapon catches the fading light of the twin suns, a symbol of imminent danger. Kyle instinctively takes a step back, his hands raised slightly in an attempt to show he means no harm. But his voice is firm, almost pleading. "Kyle, defensive. Please, I don't want trouble. Just trying to find my people." The warrior does not relent. Instead, her lips curl in a slight, almost imperceptible sneer, and her body tenses with the unmistakable readiness of a predator. She is waiting for something. Maybe for him to move, or perhaps for him to show weakness. But Kyle is resolute. His mind races as he searches for an escape route or way to communicate. But there is none. The desert is vast and empty, there is nowhere to run. Then, without any further warning, the alien warrior lets out a primal war cry. The sound is raw, guttural, a cry that seems to shake the very bones of the desert. It sends a shiver down Kyle's spine, and before he can react, the warrior hurls her spear with deadly precision. Time seems to slow. The spear spins through the air, the sound of its flight cutting through the otherwise still atmosphere like a knife through water. Kyle's eyes widen as he watches it come toward him, its tip gleaming with the promise of swift death. The force of the throw is immense, the warrior's strength evident in the speed and accuracy with which the weapon is propelled. Kyle's body moves on instinct. His arms extend, and in a blur of motion, his hands reach out, fingers wrapping around the shaft of the spear just inches from his chest. The impact is overwhelming. His palms burn with the force of the catch. And he staggers back, nearly losing his balance. The sharp sting of pain lances through his hands as splinters of the spear's shaft embed themselves in his flesh. But he maintains his grip, fighting the pull of gravity and the strength of the warrior's throw. For a long moment, everything is still. Silence falls over the desert, broken only by the sound of Kyle's heavy breathing and the faint rustle of the wind. The warrior stands motionless, her golden eyes wide with shock. Her lips part slightly, as though she cannot quite comprehend what has just happened. Kyle's heart is pounding in his chest, his breath ragged from the sudden rush of adrenaline. He keeps his grip on the spear, feeling the weight of it in his hands as if it were a symbol of the strange, dangerous bond forming between them. The warrior has thrown her weapon. But he has caught it. He has caught it, and that, in itself, is an act of defiance. An act that neither of them fully understands. The alien's gaze shifts from the spear in Kyle's hands back to his eyes. For the first time, her expression changes. Her face, which had been a mask of fierce determination, now shows something else, something akin to disbelief. The warrior takes a hesitant step back, and Kyle senses her uncertainty, a crack in her unyielding facade. Kyle, panting, his voice shaky, "Look, I don't want to fight." Kyle's words are quiet, barely more than a whisper carried on the desert wind. His body is trembling from the effort, but he stands his ground, eyes never leaving the warrior. There is no threat in his stance now, only a silent plea. A desire for understanding. The warrior's golden eyes flicker with something, curiosity, perhaps, or confusion. She slowly drops to one knee before him, lowering her spear to the ground, though her grip remains tight. Her head tilts slightly, as if considering him for the first time, her posture no longer threatening but filled with reverence. She looks at him not with the cold detachment of a predator but with something deeper. Something more complex. Kyle's breath catches in his throat as he watches her. The transformation is subtle, but it is there. The warrior, who only moments ago was poised to kill him, now seems uncertain. She studies him with an intensity that makes his skin prickle. And then, in a move that feels almost ceremonial, she places a hand over her chest and speaks again. Her words are softer this time, slower. Her tone is still foreign, but it holds a different cadence now. A reverence laced with something Kyle can almost grasp. Kyle, squinting, hesitant, "Teresa?" The name slips from his lips before he even fully realizes it. There's a strange certainty in the way the word forms. A gut feeling that tells him he has just uncovered a key to understanding this moment. The warrior's golden eyes widen ever so slightly as she nods, her lips forming the name clearly. "Teresa," softly, "Teresa." The moment the word leaves her lips, a strange understanding passes between them. Kyle feels the air around them shift. The desert suddenly quieter, as if it too is holding its breath. He feels the weight of the moment settle upon him, heavier than anything he has ever experienced. This is not just a chance encounter. This is something deeper, something far more ancient than he can comprehend. Kyle looks at her, still holding the spear in his hands. It is not just a weapon anymore. It is a symbol, something sacred, something that binds them together. He doesn't know how or why, but he feels the connection growing stronger by the second. The warrior, Teresa, is not just an alien. She is a part of something ancient. And he, too, is now a part of it. His mind races, trying to make sense of everything. The spear, the warrior, the bond that is slowly forming between them. This is no ordinary encounter. No random meeting in the desert. He is tied to this world. To Teresa, in ways he cannot yet understand. Kyle, quietly, almost to himself, "What does this mean?" For a moment, Teresa remains silent, her gaze softening as she watches him. Then she speaks again, but this time, her words are not just an explanation. They are a revelation. "Teresa," solemnly, "by the ancient laws of Zan, you are now my eternal companion. The bond of the spear, it cannot be broken." The words hang in the air like a heavy mist, enveloping Kyle. His mind struggles to process the weight of her statement, the implications of what it means. Eternal companion, a bond unbreakable. He had caught her spear, and with that single act, he had become bound to her in a way he could not undo. Kyle stares at her, feeling a surge of emotions he can barely name: confusion, fear, awe, and something else, something that flickers in his chest like a faint flame. This is no ordinary law, no mere ritual. This is something ancient, something woven into the very fabric of this world. Kyle, softly, with a mixture of awe and disbelief, eternal companion. Teresa's golden eyes never leave his. And for the first time, he sees something like acceptance in them. She has accepted him, bound him to her in a way that transcends anything he could have imagined. But she has also made it clear, this bond is not one of choice. It is a law as old as the desert itself, as unyielding as the sands beneath their feet. Kyle is no longer just a stranded survivor on an alien world. He is part of something much larger, much older, and whether he is ready for it or not, the journey ahead will be shaped by the bond of the spear. Kyle, and what now? Teresa. Now, we survive. Her voice is steady, her gaze unwavering. The desert is still, but Kyle feels the weight of her words sink in. This is just the beginning of a path neither of them can turn away from. And as the twin suns set behind them, casting long shadows across the desert, Kyle knows one thing for sure, he is no longer alone. The first light of dawn filters through the cracks in the rocks, casting long, jagged shadows over the desert floor. The temperature, still cool from the night, begins to rise swiftly as Kyle and Teresa set out, their figures small against the vast, sweeping expanse of red dunes. The air is thick with the promise of another scorching day, the sun climbing higher as they make their way through the unforgiving landscape. As they move, the desert seems to watch them, the shifting sands revealing nothing but their own footprints. The horizon is endless, stretching far beyond what Kyle can see, and the isolation is overwhelming. Yet, despite the desolation, there's a sense of purpose now, something driving them forward, something that binds them together, even if they don't fully understand it yet. Hours pass in silence, the only sound the soft crunch of their footsteps in the sand. Teresa leads the way, her movements sure and steady. Kyle follows, his mind still racing with the enormity of what has happened, but his focus is sharp. He has to find his crew. He has to survive. Then, without warning, the ground beneath them trembles. Kyle stumbles slightly, looking up in confusion, his heart quickening. The sensation is faint at first, but it grows stronger, a rhythmic vibration that seems to pulse through the very earth. Kyle, gasping, alarmed, what is that? Teresa's expression shifts, her eyes narrowing as she listens to the desert's hum. She doesn't respond immediately but glances around, scanning the horizon with a practiced eye. Teresa, a sandcrawler. It senses vibrations, temporary disruption. Before Kyle can react, Teresa pulls a small, metallic device from her belt. Pressing a button, the device emits a high-pitched whine, and Kyle feels a strange pressure in the air. The ground trembles again, but this time, it feels different, a shift. Like the beast is momentarily thrown off course. The sandcrawler, a massive, segmented creature, breaks through the sand in a rush, its body coiled like a great serpent. Its dark eyes gleam with predatory intent as it hisses, the sharp mandibles clicking with deadly precision. But as it charges toward them, the sound of the sonic disruptor forces it to veer off course, its massive form recoiling in confusion before it disappears beneath the dunes once again. Kyle, gasping, heart racing, what was that? Teresa, a sandcrawler. They hunt by vibrations. The disruptor only works temporarily. Kyle watches the sand, his heart still pounding in his chest. As the desert falls silent once more, he breathes a sigh of relief. But Teresa doesn't relax. She's already scanning the horizon again, her eyes darting from one distant point to the next. The sandcrawler may have retreated for now, but the tension between them is palpable. They aren't alone in this desert, and as the hours stretch on, they both know it's only a matter of time before they face something far worse than a sandcrawler. Soon, Their journey becomes a race, not just against time, but against the relentless dangers of the desert and the nomads who stalk its endless dunes. The bond between Kyle and Teresa strengthens with every step, their movements growing more synchronized as they face each new challenge together. There is no turning back now, only forward, into the unknown. The Zeron Oasis stands like a mirage, a rare jewel amidst the sprawling desert. As Kyle and Teresa approach, the landscape shifts before their eyes. The endless sea of red dunes slowly fades, revealing patches of green, stubborn plants that have found life in the deep aquifers below the surface. The air here is still hot, but it's thick with moisture, a stark contrast to the dry, desolate stretches of the desert they've crossed. Tall palm-like trees line the edges of the oasis, their fronds bending under the weight of the heat. Pools of water, shimmering like precious gems, reflect the pale blue sky above, and the faint sounds of the tribe's daily activities echo faintly through the oasis. But despite the apparent beauty, there is an undeniable tension in the air. The once peaceful and thriving tribe of the Zeron is now a fractured community. Its spirit broken, its people on the brink of collapse. Kyle watches in silence as Teresa leads the way, her steps purposeful. She seems to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. Her posture straight and proud despite the evident fatigue in her movements. Kyle feels it too, the heaviness of the situation pressing down on them both. As they approach the heart of the oasis, Kyle sees that something is very wrong. The usual bustling of the tribe has diminished. Some of the huts appear abandoned, and the faces of the tribe members who are still around are gaunt, their eyes hollow from hunger and fear. At the center of it all stands Raken, the once trusted advisor to Teresa's father, now the leader of the Zeron tribe. His imposing figure casts a long shadow, his eyes hard with authority as he speaks to a group of warriors. Raken's features are sharp, his face a mask of grim determination. But there is something else in his gaze, something colder, more calculating. Kyle feels an instinctive sense of unease ripple through him as he watches the exchange unfold. Kyle, under his breath, whispering to Teresa, "Who is he?" Teresa, eyes narrowing, voice tinged with bitterness, "Raken, my father's advisor. Now he's the one who would abandon our people, all for survival." Kyle senses the depth of her words, the years of betrayal and sorrow that lie beneath them. Teresa's golden eyes flicker with emotion, but she keeps her face impassive as they move closer. Raken spots them approaching, his sharp eyes glinting as he turns to face them. There's a brief flicker of recognition in his gaze, and then it fades, replaced by a cold calculation. He strides toward Teresa with purpose, his steps echoing like the ticking of a clock, counting down the moments until the inevitable confrontation. Raken, coldly, "Teresa, I see you've returned, and brought your Skyfallen one." The name stings in Kyle's ears, though he's still not entirely sure what it means. The title feels strange, alien, and yet it somehow fits the gravity of the situation. Raken's voice is sharp, devoid of warmth. He regards Kyle with an air of indifference, as though his presence doesn't matter. Teresa stands tall before him, her chin lifted in defiance. She does not flinch, her gaze unwavering as she locks eyes with Raken. The tension in the air is palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. "Teresa, firmly, I've come to take back what is mine. The tribe belongs to the people, not to you. You've betrayed us, Raken." Raken's lips twist into a cruel smirk, and for a moment, he says nothing. He merely watches her, as if savoring the moment before the storm. Raken, voice dripping with venom, "You're a fool. Teresa, this tribe cannot survive your father's old ways. Weakness will kill us all. We need strength, and that means sacrifice. You're too blinded by sentiment to see it. Teresa, stepping closer, her voice cold as the desert night. You've turned your back on our people. You'd abandon them to die just to save yourself. The words hit like a slap. Raken's eyes narrow dangerously, and for a moment, the air crackles with an intensity that makes the hairs on the back of Kyle's neck stand up. He can feel the animosity between them, the deep-rooted animosity that has built up over years of betrayal, mistrust, and hidden power struggles. Raken, sneering, "You're naive. Teresa, your father's way is dead. The only way to survive now is to leave behind the weak and focus on the strong. The oasis is for the worthy. Let the others perish." Kyle watches in disbelief, his heart sinking as the true nature of Raken's leadership comes into focus. The man he once thought was noble, a protector of the people, is nothing but a ruthless opportunist now, willing to sacrifice anyone to maintain his own power. The tribe's survival is nothing more than a means to an end for him. But Teresa, the rightful leader, stands firm. She steps forward, her voice rising with an intensity that fills the oasis with the weight of her words. Teresa, loudly, addressing the tribe, "The Zeron are not just a tribe of the strong. We are a people, bound by our shared fate. We protect each other. We do not abandon the weak. We stand together or we die together." Raken's face twists in fury, his expression hardening as he steps forward, drawing a blade from his side. It's a short, curved sword, its edge gleaming in the firelight. The sound of metal sliding from its sheath fills the tense silence. And Kyle feels a flash of panic. The air seems to thicken, and the desert beyond the oasis feels like it's closing in on them. Without warning, Raken lunges forward, his sword aimed directly at Teresa. Kyle's instincts kick in, but before he can react, Teresa is already moving, faster than he can track. In an instant, she sidesteps, her body fluid and graceful, and with a snap of her arm, her spear is in her hands. She meets Raken's attack with the blunt end of the spear, deflecting the blow with ease. The spear feels like an extension of her. Its weight is natural to her as breathing. Kyle watches, transfixed, as Teresa's movements become a dance of lethal precision. But there's something more, something beyond the fight itself. A force that binds them. A connection forged by the ancient law of the spear. Teresa, her voice low but fierce. "The spear bond compels me to protect my eternal companion, even against my own chieftain." Her words are a declaration, not just to Raken, but to the entire tribe. Kyle feels the weight of the bond settle deeper within him, a connection that he cannot break, no matter what the cost. The desert has chosen for him, just as it has chosen for Teresa. They are now one, bound together by the ancient law that governs this land. Raken falters for a moment, shock flashing across his face as he processes Teresa's words. His eyes dart to Kyle, and for a brief instant, the truth of their bond sinks in. He knows he cannot win, not against Teresa, not with the spear bond protecting her. But his pride is too great, and his rage too deep. With a roar, Raken charges once more, his blade flashing toward Teresa. This time, however, his movements are slower, more deliberate, as if he is testing her resolve. Kyle, shouting, "Teresa, look out!" But before the warning even reaches her, Teresa is already moving. She twists the spear with effortless grace, striking with the sharp end and forcing Raken back. The force of the strike knocks him off balance, and he stumbles, his sword slipping from his hand. For a moment, the world goes still. Raken, now on the ground, looks up at Teresa with a mixture of disbelief and fury. His eyes, once filled with ambition, are now clouded with defeat. The tribe watches, their expressions a mix of shock, awe, and anticipation. And then, in the silence that follows, Teresa makes her move. She raises the spear high, her golden eyes locking onto Raken's with a finality that sends a shiver down Kyle's spine. She speaks softly, but her words are clear to all. Teresa, calmly, it's over. Raken, the tribe will no longer follow you. With a single motion, she drives the blunt end of the spear into the ground beside him. A symbolic act of surrender and finality. Raken's fate is sealed. He is defeated, not by strength, but by the very bond that Teresa has sworn to uphold. The tribe, now free from the tyranny of Raken, erupts in a mixture of relief and celebration. The long-awaited shift in leadership is finally realized, and Teresa, standing tall before her people, takes her place as the true leader of the Zeron tribe. Kyle, though still a stranger in this world, feels the weight of their victory settle upon him as well. As the celebrations continue, Teresa approaches Kyle, her expression softening as she holds out the spear, his spear. Teresa, with a small smile, you caught this, Skyfallen one, it is yours, as much as it is mine. Kyle takes the spear, his fingers brushing against the smooth, polished shaft. It's more than just a weapon now. It's a symbol of their bond, of the shared struggles they faced together. He looks at Teresa, a sense of gratitude and understanding filling his chest. Kyle, smiling, his voice steady, I'll keep this safe, until we meet again. The bond between them is stronger than ever. Though his mission to find his crew still lies ahead, Kyle knows that his place in this world has shifted. The desert has claimed him. And in return, he has claimed a part of it, a part that will remain with him, no matter where he goes.